Hey everyone, welcome to Chewy's House Rules. Today we're going to take a look at my board game collection. Figured it's a great opportunity for you to see what I have, maybe find a game to play. Also, if you see any that really pique your interest, let me know down in the comments which one. I'll see if I can throw it in the line of games to play. Let's go ahead and get started. Starting off our collection is my Uwe Rosenberg collection. One of my favorite designers of games. You'll see exactly why. Some of them are just some amazing, great games. All right, over there you'll see that we have all of his lesser known ones that aren't played as well, or his older ones. Heingeist, Babel, Fairy Trails, Nottingham, Clunker, Solmio, The Differences Between Women and Men, Robin and Locksley, Nova Luna, Bargain Hunter, and those are kind of his older ones, and some new ones, but not so much as popular ones. But let's go ahead and get started on those other ones. Up here you'll see that Le Havre 2-player only version, Inland Port. Such a great game. It's one of Stephanie's favorites styles of games and stuff like that, and it's a really fun one. You have your Agricola, the big box of All Creatures Big and Small, another 2-player game. You will have Agricola cards in different versions. Moving on to one of my favorite games, Caverna. That is Agricola 2.0. It's such a good game. You're a dwarf family, and you're living in your cave, digging in your mountains, looking for rubies, and as well cutting down the trees and making pastures for your animals and growing some vegetables. Such a fun game. You go on adventures. Really, really fun. Next to that is those Cave versus Cave, the 2-player version of Caverna. And then on the other side of Caverna, you do have your expansions, the Forgotten Folk and Fanatic Fiends expansions to Caverna. They're just okay, but there they are. Next you have your Agricola collection. Yes, the big box right there, that's that 15th anniversary edition. I did not buy the actual full set. I was able to just buy the box and then house all my pieces and all my meeples and cards inside of it, which is awesome. On top of that, you got Agricola, the family edition. That is an awesome game for families. Obviously, that's the name. But my kids love it. It's a lot less of a version of Agricola. Wonderful game. Next to you'll see the goodies box, the 5 and 6 player expansion, the regular box, and then that Farmers of the Moor, and that's just an awesome expansion to Agricola. One of my favorite games. Again, it's kind of like Caverna, same concept. You're a farmer down in the I want to say the medieval times, trying to again feed your family, trying to grow your family, trying to grow vegetables and house your animals, and the whole time you're just struggling. There's a reason why they call it Misery Farm. It's just such an awesome game and stresses you out so much. Next, moving on to Holotau. It's a really fun one as well. One of his newer versions. I like this a lot. The concept, you got a house, a big giant house piece that just shifts to the right as the game progresses, which is kind of cool looking and fun. Next is that Feast for Odin. As you see, I do got the expansion to it. That is an amazing game. It's one of my favorites to play by him. I like the fact that you're a Viking and you're going on pillaging and plundering. You can get some animals. You can steal some jewelry, and it's just a fun game. Get boats and it's wow. Talk about lots of options. So it's a good one there. You got to play with the expansion. If you don't, it's not as great. All right, moving on to that Fields of Arle. That is the 2-player game. It's a big box for a 2-player game only, but it's such an awesome game based off of where Uwe Rosenberg actually was, where he was raised at the top north portion of Germany. It's amazing up there. And of course, I got that expansion to it, the Tea and Trade. That's a fun one too. Next, you have one of Stephanie's favorite games, Or et Labora. That is such an awesome game. A very time-consuming game, but really good game. Next is Mercator. This is definitely one of my top 5 games. I mean, it's just an amazing game. Mercator is it's one of his gems that not a lot of people know about. It doesn't have the same look and feel as the rest of his games, that color and that cartoony look, but made as a really fun game, collecting resources and being able to just get the cards and got some history behind it too, so it's pretty cool. Next is that Le Havre, one of Stephanie's other favorite games. We saw the 2-player, now this is the main box. That's a really fun game. We introduced that to a lot of new players as well. Next, you got that Glass Road. You have that Nusfjord from Norway. One day I'm going to get up there. I'm going to get up to Nusfjord. Next, you got the Gates of Lorraine. That's a fun game. All right, next you got his season collection, the Cottage Garden, Indian Summer, Spring Meadow, Ottawa. That's his new one with the bats down in Africa. That's a really fun one. Got a lot of history he did on that one, research and stuff like that. That's pretty good. New York Zoo, that's a fun, interesting one to introduce to new players and stuff like that. Ray Colt, Applejack. And last of the Uwe collection, you have the Patchwork editions. You have the regular Patchwork Express. You have the Poland and Norwegian versions. And of course, that stacking stuff up there. And that is my Uwe collection. Some of my top favorite ones are in there. All of those are just some great games itself. Some fun ones, as you can see. Some amazing games. And just some stressful ones too. But I love Uwe's games. Good job, dude. Alright, moving on. Next ones you got is that World Monuments. It's okay. Jorvik, Ulm, Small World, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. That's a good one. The rest of his collections are going to be later on in the lineup, but there's that one. Santorini, Camelot, and Twilight Struggle. Twilight Struggle is a 2-player game. That is a really fun game. I wish I was able to get it to the table more. Alright, next you got Photosynthesis. The Pillars of the Earth, that's a really good one. I've never read the book, but the game's pretty fun. In that lineup series of that, Column on Fire. I don't own that third one. I believe it's The World at End. I have not been able to find it yet, but one day I'll get it to my collection. Seven Wonders, a great intro to the game. Imhotep, Tokaido, and Chai. Moving on. All right, you got Pandemic Iberia. It's probably one of my favorite of the Pandemic series. I never got to play the Legacy games, but one day I will. But for the standard ones, that's pretty my favorite one. Pandemic, the regular. You do have the ticket rides. You got Europe, Nordic. Nordic countries are one of my favorite ones. It's a really fun one. And then kind of a harder one to find, Markland. That's a really good one. Ticket to Ride, First Journey. That is a kids version of it. My kids love it. They're 5 and 6. It's a really fun one, very easy concept to understand. Space Base is a great game. Stephanie and I like to play it online more than play it in person. The cards aren't the greatest on person, and it takes a while to set up and move around, but the online really does all that stuff for you, which is really fun and fast. Azul and Bob Ross, The Art of Chill. Next, you got Colosseum, Batavia, Terra Mystica, the big box. I think Terra Mystica is a great game. I wish Stephanie liked it. She doesn't really like it, but that's a really fun one. I wish I got that one to the table more as well. Snowdonia, that's a really awesome game. It's an outdated one, but a really fun one. Really cool. Lorenzo and Carnegie. And then, of course, if you take a look down there, you'll see the partier ones. Secret Hitler, Sushi Go, Chameleon, Munchkin, those kind of things. The Game of Things, Apples. Those are all the party ones. Next, you have the 2-player lineup. Foothills, that is a branch of Snowdonia. Really fun one for 2-player games, really fun. Carcassonne, the Castle, the 2-player version. I think that's a phenomenal version of it. I think it's probably my favorite Carcassonne. Bohemian Villages. You got Biblios, Rose King, Kahuna, Seven Wonders Duel. You got a Pillars of the Earth, the Builders Duel, King Domino, and Targi. Those are just really, really fun games. So next on the lineup, you got Nauticus. Nauticus is a really awesome game about building a ship. I think it's a fun one. It did come in German, but I was able to get the English translation for it. That's a really cool game. That's a really fun game. I wish it was played more by a lot of other people, but that's fine. Suburbia, Walled City, Robinson Crusoe. You got the Catan series. You got Catan Merchants of Europe, Catan Germany. That's probably my favorite version of it. I think that's a really awesome game. The map's awesome, and the pieces to it. My first Carcassonne for the kids. My kids love that one. That's a really fun, easy game for them to understand. Dragon Domino. That's King Domino's baby brother. Dragons. That's kind of a fun one to play too. So, and of course you got down there the regular Catan, and you got Catan the Seafarers version. And those are those. Next, we're going to move into the Stefan Feld collection, starting with his CD collections of Hamburg and Amsterdam. I've not been able to really play these yet, but I'm learning them. They're pretty fun. They're pretty cool. You got Trajan. I think Trajan's an awesome game there. I wish I got played more too as well, but it's a really fun one. And then, of course, Puerto Rico. It's one of Stephanie and I's favorite games there. You do have the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. Look at that thing. That thing is amazing. This is just recently released. That thing is phenomenal. Lots of great pieces, a lot of updated pieces, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful version of it. Moving on down to here, you have the La Isla, you have Notre Dame, the Year of the Dragon, another version of Castles of Burgundy. That's the first one we got when we fell in love with it. Next, you got Carpe Diem, Luna, Rialto, and the Castle of Tuscany. And those are my Stefan Feld collection. Really, really awesome designer. Moving on to my first Castle Panic. That's a kid's version of Castle Panic. It's a fun one my kids like to play. That's one of our newer ones we just got. Colonist, the epic strategy game. There's a reason why they call it the epic strategy game. That game is massive. It takes a while to play. Stephanie and I have only ever played the 2 first eras of it. One day we'll get to play it all the way through, all 4 eras, but that takes some time. Next is that Grand Austria Hotel. Wow, I love that game. That's a really awesome, fun game. Throw in the expansion there, the Let's Waltz, and that is a phenomenal game right there to play. I like it a lot. Even online's okay, but playing it in person is probably my favorite thing. You got Scoville. Good game we like to introduce to a lot of new players. Just it's a really fun one. Kind of concept's pretty cool. You grow peppers. Not bad. Last Will. If you've ever seen Brewster's Millions, that's right, the old movie Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor. That is basically based off of that movie. It's a fun one. Your uncle dies. You are going to inherit this money, but you got to spend it first. So it's pretty cool. Next is that Stone Age Anniversary Edition. That is a gorgeous game. One of Stephanie's favorite games. Stone Age. I think it's a really awesome game itself, but that edition is really awesome. And then you got my first Stone Age, the kids version. My kids love that one. That's a really fun game too itself. Pretty fun and pretty cool. Ultimate Railroads. That is the big box of it all. That's right. All expansions are in that box. That thing is cool as heck. Really cool to play online too if you want to play it. But the box itself and the game itself on the table is just awesome. Next you got Zolkin, the Mayan calendar. That's a really cool version. Kind of cool wheel game. It's pretty interesting to play. Definitely check it out. Istanbul, the big box. Stephanie loves that game. It's a really fun game. I don't think I ever win it, but Stephanie's pretty good at it. So, Castles of Mad King Ludwig. That is an awesome game. That's definitely one of my top 5. That kind of started a lot of our new games and stuff. Funny story behind that one. Stephanie and I actually bought that in the town where Neuschwanstein Castle is in Germany. We paid way more euros than what needed to be paid. We just didn't know. We didn't have the internet at that time when we were buying it. Of course, it was cheaper online through Amazon and everywhere else we saw, but at the time, we bought it. We thought it was a really cool game. Didn't know it was really out there, but that's a really fun game, building rooms and stuff like that. Moving on to Palaces of Mad King Ludwig. That's another great game too. It's building just one palace instead of each one's building their own castle. You're sharing the palace. It's kind of cool. Village. That is an amazing game. I keep saying all these amazing, but that's why they're in my collection, because they really are. A Village is a really cool concept of your people grow old, and as they grow old, you make new babies, the grandparents end up dying off, and then the parents end up growing to become grandparents, and they die off. Just a really cool concept of living in a village, and people growing old, and collecting what you need to live, to sell the goods, and things like that. Really fun one. Gotta play with the expansions, though. Those 2 expansions that come with it, Port and Inn, that's a really fun game, too. Next is that Terraforming Mars. It's a really fun, popular game. Stephanie loves it a lot. I like it a lot. I know some people that have every card memorized. That's crazy, but it's a fun one. Wingspan, that's a really beautiful game. Good concept to just playing about birds, kind of cool. And then Praga, based off of the city of Prague in Czech. That's a really cool game there itself. Viticulture, that's a really fun game about growing grapes, smashing them down into wine, and selling those bottles of wine. It's pretty fun. Next is that Harry Potter, that Hogwarts Battle. That's a really fun game. The era basically continues to go on. You might win one round, but you got to go through the entire series of all the Harry Potter books, and that's pretty cool to see. The game gets harder and harder each round. More bad guys come in. You have to restart your hand, and it's just wow. That's a cool. Pretty fun one. Harry Potter, the 2-player version of that, where you guys battle each other. That's pretty cool. That's a white box right there. That's pretty cool. Next to that is Isle of Skye. Good intro game we like to play to friends and stuff like that. Splendor, that's a really awesome one again. It's got that poker style chips in it, and you're trying to collect cards and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Pompeii, that's a cool game. Talks all about the city of Pompeii, and first half you're basically putting people down. The second half you're trying to escape the city because the lava's coming. So that was pretty cool. And last but not least is Fjords. This game was out of print for a while, but thankfully it got reprinted in this beautiful version of it, and it's pretty fun little one too. So. And up here, the last but not least, the Mac Gertz collection of games, Princes of Machu Picchu. That's the game that actually made me start to do YouTube. Online, there was only people speaking in different languages, learning how to play it. So I had to learn it all by myself, and not getting any help from anybody, but that was a really cool one. So I said, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it, throw it on there so you all can learn it. So that's gonna be one of my first games I play. And TK Concordia, that's a phenomenal game. I love Concordia. Concordia Salsa, the expansion, that's a must-have to play the game. It's pretty cool. Great game. Navigador, that's a really fun game too itself. And Power Grid. Next over there, you got Raiders of the North Sea. That's a cool, fun Viking game, as well as its expansion, Halls of Heroes, and Lantern. But that is my collection. I hope it brings some interesting games to your mind, something that you want to see. Some games that you don't mind watching, or me throwing in some of my house rules, because, well, this is Chewy's House Rules. And again, I'm Chewy. Thanks for watching. Bye.